Ready? Coming to you on this live from my car. Amy's in Thailand and it's been really hard to get the time difference correct, a time that works for us both. And I was in the gym, but the signal in the gym is so bad. So I was like, oh, will I try it in the gym? Will I not try it in the gym? And I made the executive decision to leave the gym so that we didn't have a 15-minute conversation. So, first live from the car. Hopefully nobody comes and knocks on the window or anything. Just trying to let Amy in. Let's see. This always obviously goes very smooth. Oh,
can you see?
Oh my God, Amy. You're inspiring.
Yeah.
I had a slight nick on my eye earlier. I was like, oh, I better cover up that black eye, and then in comes Amy.
Here I come with a big old shiner and a little one there.
Oh my God. So obviously just finished, won a fight 20 minutes ago, flew to Thailand, straight into the deep end. Good woman.
Yeah, right into the deep end, tough training already. Like I've definitely been put through it in the first week, but yeah. I mean, I can feel myself getting better already.
It's amazing. Good woman. You're some woman. Actually, I was just in the gym there and I decided, because the signal in the gym is touch and go. So I was like, I better just run to the car so that we don't have to deal with anything. She did win.
Yeah.
But one of my clients is like, that doesn't do MMA or anything, like just this is a personal trainer, like a lifting client. She's saying, I got some MMA fighter come up on my feed. She's in Thailand on a camp, and I was like, oh my God, I'm literally about to do a live with her. But obviously it's because her phone is in the same vicinity of my phone a couple of times a week, so it's decided that she might know you. Oh no, I think we might have lost Amy. Let's see if she can rejoin. Yeah, there we go. She's coming back in. The first join just went way too smoothly. Yeah.
Am I back?
You're back.
I don't know what happened there.
I was saying
it just said it expired.
Yeah, the first join went way too smoothly. But anyway, let's dig into Amy Scully's martial arts journey. Because what age are you now? Are you 19, 20?
Yeah, 19.
Yeah. So you're killing it in your teenage years. So I had a look this morning. I had my laptop out and I was looking at the first plan that I did for you, and it was 2022. It was like summer 2022, August. So it's like this 17-year-old kid coming to me is brilliant. I love it. Just like, I need to help. I need to sort this out.
Well, that's the thing. I wanted to get educated because this is something that I want to do for, you know what I mean, as long as I can. And I've seen so many people on videos online of people just doing terrible weight cuts or just like not eating properly and stuff like that. And I wanted to make sure that if I want to do this for the rest of my life, I need to be making sure I'm feeling myself and that my body's able to do it. Yeah. Keep up with it.
Yeah. You're more wise than most of the full adults that I work with. Oh God, she's gone again. Let's try and get her back in. If you guys can still hear me, you'll know that I'm constantly talking about this, that if you want to fight long term, you need to be able to make weight without damaging your body. That every time you do something, so a bad weight cut, it damages your body, and in my mind it can shorten your career on the other side, because you're going to find it harder and harder to make weight. You're going to start picking up injuries, and then there's obviously the psychological effects of it. So obviously mind absolutely blown when a 17-year-old reaches out and says, I want to get this right from the get-go early on in my career, which is what Amy did, which is amazing. We should have her back in now. Yes, you're back.
I'm back. Sorry, I don't know if it could be my signal as well. That could be cutting us out, but because the Wi-Fi here isn't great. But
yeah, I was thinking
hopefully
that would
be the last time I get booted off.
Yeah, I was thinking we probably should have picked a time when you weren't in Thailand to do a live, but sure.
We can always do another one in the future, anyways.
Yeah,
with better signal.
Yeah, sure. Let me know. Tell me, how did you get started in martial arts? What age did you start?
My mom threw me into jiu-jitsu when I was like 10, as like to do after school. My brother was training up in SBG and he was doing MMA, but she threw me into just Gracie Baja and Dundrum, just somewhere closer to get me into just something for me to do after school, basically, with my little brother. And then I kept going at it, and then when I was about 13 or 14, I started competing at that, and I did loads of competitions, Europeans and all that, for a while. And then when COVID started, I started wanting to kind of get into striking as well, because since all the gyms are closed, you couldn't be rolling with other people.
Yeah.
So we had a bag at home. So I started hitting that and thought it was good crack. And then once then COVID ended, I joined SBG myself. And from then on, I've just been doing MMA.
Amazing. And let's talk about all the success you've had. So how many IMAF titles are we talking here?
I came second in the Youth World Championships
Amazing.
in 2022. That was the first time I worked with you. And
Yeah.
then I came first in the World Championships, the junior atomweight world champion.
Amazing.
And then I came third in the Europeans, which was my last IMAX. But technically, it was like an honorary third because I lost my fight. So I don't know if that one really counts. But I won my fight after, so I got it back. But I'm looking forward now to doing the Worlds again in, I think it's October or November is when it's on again. So that would be good crack to get another world medal.
And was that your first MMA fight on a show? It was on Cage.
It was on Clan Wars, yeah.
Clan Wars.
That was my first ever show. It was insane. It was actually like mad having, because all my fights have been abroad, so it was like kind of crazy having, like, you know, when you look outside the cage and you actually see people that you know,
yeah.
and they're all cheering for you. Like it was nuts. Like it was amazing. And
because the IMAF is ran so well, like I was really taken aback because I had done some amateur boxing comps and some international kickboxing comps where they were run like you see the boxing in the Olympics, like there'd be 3 or 4 rings on the go.
Yeah.
And it's very different. And the IMAF is run like that, and I was really impressed by that when I competed at the IMAFs that it was already get that organized. But if that's what you're used to, and then you go home and you're in a show where the cage is in the middle of the room and all of your mates are shouting for you and stuff, like it's a very different, both require performances because it can be quite intense when you're in a room with 3 rings in it and everybody's quiet and it's just very sporting.
Yeah.
But it's also really intense when you've got your mates shouting at you, and then you have the randoms that are just there going, knock her out, and they don't even know what they're looking at, you know. It's just like,
yeah.
And then you've got
it's like,
to the ring or to the
it's
cage.
mad. Like, it's definitely a completely different vibe. Like I feel like being in there though, like, and getting my hand raised in there and seeing everyone, like that was, I couldn't stop smiling when I was there. I just knew this is where I want to be, in this cage, like for the rest of my life. Brilliant. Doing this type of stuff.
Armbar finish is brave, like in MMA, to go for an armbar because you're giving away your dominant position on the hope that you finish it, and you did, but you had to do a few adjustments to finish.
I had to do a couple of adjustments. I've never like gone that hard in armbar before, and it popped like once, and then I was like, oh, do I keep going? Because usually in jiu-jitsu competitions, because last time I competed, I was a kid, so when you kind of have the armbar on, the ref stops it. Yeah, so you want me to keep us safe, but like didn't stop, so I was like, oh, and then like her head kind of got up for a sec, and then I just crossed my legs, and like it crunched a couple of times. So I was like, this is gross. It just kept going.
It's up to her to tap, you know.
It's up to her, so she wasn't happy, so I just had to keep going with it.
And then obviously what I want to chat to you about, obviously I was saying while we lost you there, I was saying to everyone that you're wiser than most of the adults that come to me, and that you're like, okay. And I'm always talking about this online. If you want to be making weight regularly and you want to be able, especially as a female fighter, you need to be able to take short notice fights if you want to actually earn a living out of fighting. So you need to be on top of your weight. And for me, for a 17-year-old reaching out to me, just being like, here, I want to get this right from the beginning, is really exceptional. But so you're kind of pursuing that fighting, but then you're also, at the time, I remember we were in touch, you were in camp, you were doing your Leaving Cert and stuff like that. And for anybody not Irish watching, the Leaving Cert is the last high school exams, the state exams that send you then off to college and decide what college you can go to based on how well you do, basically.
Yeah, so I did that. It's actually been a year now. I think I graduated a year ago, I think yesterday or something. So it was mad. But I mean, I had to, you know, lock in and study. Like my mom and dad said that if you don't get a good Leaving Cert, you don't get to fight people. So I was like, okay. You know, I knuckled down for a bit, and I was like, they're happy enough with what I got. So that's why I'm here now. I'm able to do what I want for a bit. And then I'll always have the option for college then if I want to. Even while I keep pursuing MMA, I might go into some sort of course that isn't as demanding or something like that. Because I do love learning. Like that's something I love about MMA, is that you learn new stuff constantly. Even at the highest level, there's, you know what I mean, black belts learn stuff every day. They don't stop learning once they become black belts. So if I'm only where I am now, I have mountains and mountains to go. So there's always learning that you can do in all aspects of life.
Yeah, it's amazing. And to be a student for life is the way to do it, you know. And once you learn, you realize how little you learn. Like I'm even finding that, you know, I find that in work, I find that in with fighters, you find that with technique, and jiu-jitsu obviously is great for teaching you that you know nothing, even when you think you know something.
Yeah, even when you
But
think you do.
yeah, funny these my parents were the same because I was in the thick of my competing in kickboxing around my leaving cert, and they were like, you can only train if you go to evening study first. So I had to go to school, and then I had to stay back for the study, and then they'd allow
Yeah,
me to train in the evening. And like I was like, fair deal, fair enough, you know. But then as
yeah. I
well
mean,
with the
I think
college
it's fair
thing,
enough.
all my passion was also always that. But I went to college and I studied law and was pursuing that career, and like just wasn't really into it. So I think you're right to just get the good leaving cert,
Yeah,
enjoy the fighting, and then you know you've the
have the
rest of your life.
option.
Very few people I know are do in the career that they went to college to be in by the time they hit their 30s, you know.
Yeah. No, like I mean, you can go into college more or less at any age. So like you know, you can learn at any age. So there's no stopping me. I could have a full pro career, retire, and then decide I want to, I don't know, start. Well, probably I'm not smart enough for medicine, but you know, I can do something, you know, like that,
Don't take
whatever. But you know, you can always learn after the fact, and like even if something happens, like yeah, just it's nice having the option there. But right now, it's like not something I want to do. Leave the books for a bit.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, like you know Ash. So Ashling Daly is like
Yeah.
exactly that. Had her whole UFC career, amazing achievements, and then went back to college, and she's now a teacher. And I just think, imagine if you're in primary school and an ex UFC fighter was your teacher. Like, how cool would that be?
Be awesome. That'd be awesome.
And then she still like she won the Masters Euros there at the weekend. So
Yeah,
like she's
seen that.
still
Yeah,
managing to compete in jiu-jitsu. So yeah, there's plenty of time. But let's talk food because it's so funny. So you came to me and you were like, yeah, cool. Hey Shauna, how are you? You were like, yeah, no, I'm a bit of a foodie, and I was like, okay, cool. And then we were talking about just I guess timing your nutrients a bit better, making sure you're hitting your protein and you're getting your recovery food in. And then you were like, no, I have a little bit of a food thing, and I was like, okay. And then I looked. It's Amy's there with this hugely popular food blog. So you're in school, you're training for MMA and competing at the Worlds, and you're maintaining this vegan food blog.
yeah. Now I've put it on the back burner for a bit because I've been like between houses, so I'm getting like another kitchen kind of set
Okay.
up. So once I come back to Thailand, I'm gonna get back on it. But for most of my leaving cert and coming up to it, I was doing like the food blog,
Yeah.
posting videos like I think through I was at every day for a
Yeah.
while, and then getting closer to leaving cert, it was like a couple times a week. And then I was still training 2 to 3 times a day and getting school and studying, and literally I don't know how I had the time for it looking back on it, but I managed to get it done. Like I really enjoy just that's why I've started doing vlogs on this account
Yeah.
now. Like I enjoy kind of creating videos and just sharing like my story and myself on the internet. So that for a while that was through food, and I want to go back, keep sharing my recipes once I get back. But right now I'm really enjoying making these vlogs and kind of showing people, you know what I mean, the day ins and days out of people who, you know, someone who wants to go all the way with fighting,
Yeah.
and hopefully inspire other people then to kind of come on their own journeys and push them to get to training as well.
Yeah. And then also showing people the what I would say the dirty bits of it. The you know, you're here with your black eye over in
Yeah,
Thailand, you the train, the camp, the feeding to recover, the travel to get different spars. People obviously really enjoy the glorious side of it, but they don't maybe realize how lonely it is day to day. And
yeah,
the way you get to the glory is by doing all the lonely stuff day to day that
100%.
you know you're in
Well,
the
sure,
gym.
I'm here by myself right now. I went over here by myself. I was just like, okay, the flights are cheap. This is where I'll get the best training that I can. Like I'm training with like high level one championship fighters. Unfortunately, Stamped, I wasn't able, not able to train with her. She got injured
Uh,
a couple of days before I came out. She tore her meniscus or something, which sounds pretty bad. She had to get surgery. But like I'm training with really high level girls, and then even in the Muay Thai as well. Like with the Muay Thai sparring, like that's been tough.
yeah,
You know, they don't go easy on you. Like it's pretty. You know, I mean, you have to get good quick.
yeah,
But that's what I'm here for. You know, I'm just here train, sleep. I had a nap before I got on this, and then
yeah,
I'm going to be training now afterwards. You know, and then making sure I'm fueling as well the entire
yeah.
way. That's something that like I've got a little kitchen set up at the back. I got a little hob and stuff so that I can actually make sure I'm not just going across the road to the centre and eating shite in between each training session. That I'm able to like get stuff and kind of make sure have a good breakfast before training and all that.
Yeah, it's so vital. But that's what I was just going to ask you. What's it like getting food over there? Because I've had a few fighters actually go over to fight in Thailand, and we've I've kind of packed their suitcases with stuff that might be essential, just on the off chance that they can't get their hands on stuff to like their pre-training snacks. And then because I
Yeah.
know fresh vegetables and rice and stuff is an easy thing over there, but there might be some other stuff like the fast acting carbs like the honey or the the rice cakes and stuff before training might be harder to get your hands on.
Yeah, so I mean the food, like there's a big shopping center literally like right across the road. As in there's the gym and you literally walk across the road and there's like this massive shopping center. It's actually nuts. It's like based off different, each floor is a different country and stuff like that. There's like the Eiffel Tower in there. The shopping centers are just mad over
Yeah.
here. But there's a big supermarket in there and they have like plenty of fresh produce and stuff. And for me, like before training, I usually just like to eat fruit as like a fast acting carb, like mango or something like that. Something that's a bit easy, like not apples. I kind of find when I have apples, get stuck in my stomach. But just something like bananas and fruit, and like it's so cheap over here. You can buy like 6 mangoes for like maybe £2. So I just have them, and the night before, then I have them chopped up and I put them in the fridge, so that when I wake up in the morning, I don't have to. You know what I mean? I don't end up being lazy and just going straight. I have something then for the thing, and then once I'm done training, then I have like protein oats or something just to kind of with like peanut butter and honey to kind of fuel me back up then after, and then go on for the day.
Yeah, then have your little nap and then come back and do your pre-training snack again. It's
Exactly.
perfect. Setting yourself,
Yeah.
because if you were doing over there and then you weren't getting the bits that you needed, then you wouldn't be getting the most out of the training sessions, or God forbid you were a little bit
100%.
fatigued or inflamed and you picked up an unnecessary injury. So
Yeah.
that you're wise beyond your years already. Your parents.
No, like I think feeling for training, like once I started, like, because I used to just like, especially for morning sessions, I used to just not eat because I felt like, oh, like I'm gonna feel like bloated and stuff in training. But ever since I've prioritized like making sure that I have fuel before training, even if it means waking up half an hour earlier, you know what I mean, and then going to bed half an hour earlier and actually being able to feel myself, I find that like, especially because sparring's in the morning here, so I find that like the days that last week I didn't eat before training because I was only getting used to it and I felt miserable in sparring. Today I did and I felt much, much better. And, you know, I was able to kind of train a lot harder than I would have if I didn't have a bit of fuel beforehand.
Yeah, it's a mistake people make, and it's something that comes up with fighters a lot. Because they don't want to feel sluggish when they go training, and I get that. But you do need to fuel your training. So for me, I would always say up like that a half an hour earlier. And if we start with something small, I'll say to them, have a date. Go training, work on that, and then next week, because you choose to train your stomach to digest food, like you have
to build it up. Yeah,
abs, you know, train your, like people do their heat training, so they'll get into a sauna to get their heat acclimation going on. So the same thing applies to your digestive system and fueling your training. And it's the one thing that I see fighters drop the ball on a lot. So when I'm saying to people, especially at the higher levels, when the skill gap is very, very small, where you can get an edge is prioritizing your sleep and prioritizing your nutrition and fueling yourself properly.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's like you said, like just having the fuel does make a big difference. And then also sleep. I used to not prioritize sleep at all, and I'd be up for ages after training and then be waking up like, because at home I wake up at 5:30 to go training and then walk my dogs. And then I'd be going to bed at like 11 and I'd wake up like a zombie, just like. So now like back home, like as soon as I'm done training, I have something ready for me to eat, and then I go straight to sleep and then get up the next day.
And people don't know any different. They feel like, because it's a thing, people are like, oh, I'm in camp, I should be miserable. And until you've seen the other side, you're like,
yeah,
this is normal, I'm training hard, I should be tired. And then when you get to actually fuel yourself properly, because there's a lot of talk about overtraining, but I like to call that under recovering rather than overtraining, you know. And people get their recovery proper and they get their fuel proper, they're like, oh, okay, this is how it should feel, strong, fast, fit, you know.
Yeah, well sure, even here, like I've been training, like, well, yesterday, since I got cut a small bit, but thankfully it was like somehow it ended up being like 3 small cuts, so it wasn't anything too bad. But I decided I was probably best going home then and just putting ice on it so it didn't get too big. But like from literally this whole week I've been training like 3 to 5 times a day. And like there's been adequate, sometimes they're like back to back, and then but I make sure that I'm feeling myself, and then as soon as I'm done, I fuel up after training, and then I kind of try like relax myself for a bit, if that makes sense, before I go to sleep. Like just do like breath work or something like that, and then make sure that I get at least 8 hours solid sleep then minimum to try recover for the next day. And like I mean, my muscles are sore and stuff like that, but like I've definitely felt much worse doing much less training, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, like really being over here, want to make sure that I'm getting everything done, like make sure I'm fueling in between. Even just instead of having just water between sessions, I get a Gatorade or something just to have some sort of calories going into me between sessions. Because like yes, on Wednesday I only had like half an hour between one session and the next one, so I just drank a Gatorade so that I have something to fuel me, and then I can like properly get protein stuff in after, which I
Yeah.
think is probably a good thing to do. I think, but I felt okay.
Yeah, yeah. Those sports drinks are designed exactly for that. People they can get a bit snobbish about sports drinks, but they have been designed with rehydration and refuel and liquid carbs in mind. So that's a
Yeah,
perfect option.
I mean,
Like if you're
it does freak me out that it's neon blue, but I mean, you have to make, yeah, I don't know how it becomes neon blue, but you have to make do so sometimes in order to get the refueling in.
yeah, well, that's a big thing we talk about. Is like ideally, everybody would just be eating whole foods, but like
Yeah,
in the reality world that we live in, that's not going to be the case. And then if you apply the 80-20 rule, like if you were telling me you're drinking 2-3 liters of Gatorade a day, I'd be like, Amy, we need to talk about
there
this.
could be a
But
problem.
just like a protein bar, sometimes you're stuck and you need something, and if
Yeah,
that's for that's very different to relying on them as the absolute baseline of your diet. When someone's like, okay, I have a protein bar for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and 3 monsters in between, you're like,
yeah,
oh, okay, we need to work
not
on this.
healthy. No, I try get everything in like as naturally as possible, but you know what I mean, it's unrealistic. And also, I mean, either eating like a mango and drinking some electrolytes, or having it all in one thing, carbs and thing in one kind of drink. You kind of have to make the decision, and I don't mind. I think it's
And
grand.
you're so good. Like that was one of the things. Good. So you were probably one of the first vegans that I worked with, but you're generally when I'm working with people, and even meat eaters, they can be quite samey. And any of my clients that I have that actually love food and experiment with recipes really do so well, because obviously their camp food then isn't bland. But you were coming in and like I had never heard of silken tofu until I started working with you, for example. And now when
Yeah,
I talk like vegans and veggies, I'm like, try some silken tofu, as if I know. I've never had it in my life, but I'm like, look in Amy's videos, it looks really creepy.
handy. It's
Like,
handy. It's good. I mean, even for meat eaters, if you want to bump up the protein of a pasta sauce, you stick it in the blender and you blend it up, and it makes like a real nice creamy sauce. And like that's one of my favorite ways to like bump up, because you can even add whatever. I mean, if you eat chicken, add some chicken in with the pasta then as well, and you've got like a really nice, you know what I mean, high protein meal then as well. And it has healthy fats as well, which is good. Like that's something I like about tofu, is that it has a good bit of fat in it as well as protein.
yeah, yeah, lovely. Perfect. Yeah. So you're great. You're all over it, which I love. And then like someone that takes, and that's what I try to get fighters to do is like, well, that's why I didn't say, Amy, this is your meal plan. Do this for 8 weeks, because I want you to be
Yeah.
able to, but then like we haven't worked together in probably over a year or something, is it? And like, you're still just continuing.
I think it was for just the Worlds, so in November. But then I wanted to try with the Europeans and stuff myself. I wanted to see if I could use what I learned from you to be able to kind of, do you know what I mean, do it myself. And I followed everything that you told me to do, and it worked perfect. And I felt
Yeah.
great both days, like both the two, because it was close enough. It was like a month between both fights, and like never felt drained going into either of them. Like, and I just felt great both times. So I was able to use what you taught me well.
Which is amazing, and that's credit to you, because you were involved in our work together. That's what I mean. You were like, okay, this is it, and then hitting me up with questions when you needed to, but really taking control of it yourself. And that's why, like, that's where I'm a bad business person, because that's what I want for everybody. I want them to do a stint with me and then go on their way and then jump in if they need to. And same this morning, I got a panic text from a fighter that's weighing in tomorrow. And again, it's been a year since we worked together. And she's like,
Yeah.
is there any chance you can ask me a consultation? Everything has been going great, but I got my period this morning and I've bumped up a kilo. And I literally just spent 10 minutes on the phone to her, just reassuring her, gave her a few tips, and off her way. But I was so happy to hear that she had been doing a cut on her own. I didn't even know she had a competition coming up, because she was just
Yeah.
referring to what she had done last year and using everything she learned, and then trying to be healthy. And then of course, when the wheels were starting to come off a little bit, having someone to bounce an idea off is great too.
Yeah. Well, even that seminar, I did that with you before the Worlds, but I did the seminar, I think it was maybe this time last year. I think I was still coming up to the leader, so it could have been like maybe January, February. But like I took so much notes from that, and like I learned a lot from that. And that was probably like what kind of made everything, you know what I mean, click in my head kind of with nutrition and stuff. So like I found that definitely like super, super helpful with just even just like relationship with food and everything. Like I found that like, do you know what I mean? Like especially as a fighter, you can find that you go through periods where not that you hate food, but like you hate food, if that makes sense. You know, like because it's like, oh, like you don't want to be eating this or you don't want to be eating that. But like I feel like I've gotten to a point now where I understand my nutrition and my body enough that like I know that I can go and have a couple of days, you know, eating not the most healthiest stuff, or just like even just eating what I want, going out with the family, and it's not something to, you know what I mean, panic about or something like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then because that's what I just done one recently for a teenager, and I know you and I spoke because I do those seminars, and I have another one coming up in June, and I love them because I do genuinely want to reach as many fighters as I can, but there's only one of me. But so them seminars are a way for me to get 10 or 20 fighters in a room and assemble some information and stuff like that, which is really great. And then I ran one for the first time for teenagers last month. And so that's what I wanted to ask you about, because I do remember one time you were at one of the IMAFs and you were messaging me saying my opponent, this was 2 or 3 days before you were due to actually get in the cage, and you were
Oh yeah,
like, I
this
can
is the
see.
world. I think is this your one in the sweatsuit?
Yeah, and this is really alarming to me because that it was a teenage girl, and 3 or 4 days before you're due to actually be in the cage, her coach had her
Yeah.
out running, and she wasn't. You were saying,
Oh, it was,
like,
yeah, it was nuts. Like, I mean, she was, the coaches had her and like her, there was like a couple girls like kind of in they were like all together with their coach. And like you'd have them running out in the sweatsuits because the gym, like there wasn't a gym in the hotel. So they went out in the sweatsuits and they wouldn't be allowed to come back in basically until they'd like lost so and so amount. Like they'd come back and then, yeah, I mean, they'd be sent back out again to go running some more. And like, even on the day of the weigh-ins, this wasn't the girl that I ended up fighting, but one of the girls that was with her was like running back and forth downstairs because we were weighing in downstairs in the sweatsuit, trying to get the last bit off before she had to stand on the scales. And like, it was just, I mean, I kind of sat there smug, like, at least I know what I'm doing. I'm here happy eating my food and you're off running outside. But I did feel bad for her that like you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, it's just kind of outdated ideas of kind of how to cut weight and stuff because like with the way the body works, like if you cut weight and you drink water 3 days before your fight, it's a bit pointless.
yeah,
Like, so yeah, it only matters, like you said, it's to be dehydrated for as little time as possible. So even if you have to sweat, like you said, do it in the morning instead of the night before, so at least you can get a better
yeah.
sleep.
Yeah. But and it's really, I find it really scary to me. First of all, just to touch on that losing water weight a few days beforehand and then just drinking, you're actually probably going to cause a rebound water retention, which is going to put
Yeah.
you in a.
I feel like that's the opposite of water loading, is it not? Because I feel like the point of water loading is to drink loads of water and then like your body's like, oh, we have so much water, we can throw it around the place. But if you do the opposite, then any drop of water that's going to go onto your body's probably going to cling onto it for dear life.
Yeah, which is miserable. And then, of course, you're expecting that fighter to fight after sending them for a 5K jog in a sweatsuit for 4 nights in a row, you know?
Yeah.
But um, but I find it really scary because knowing like what I went through with making weight, I've made weight really well and I've made weight really bad. And a lot of my knowledge now comes from experiments I've done on myself for making weight. And then before I got into actually reading the science of it and stuff. But when I see teenagers or young girls, because I know how much it messes with a person's psychological health, their mental health, their relationship with their body, their relationship with food. So when I see teenagers being put through that stuff, it genuinely upsets me. Like, I'm just like, can we please, because what you're creating is an adult with potentially lifelong food issues and lifelong body issues and an inability to have any type of an appreciation for their body. And we know the more you can appreciate your body for what it does and be grateful to it, the less likely you are to engage in disordered eating behaviors.
Yeah, like I mean, I think I think even just here that you did a seminar for teenagers, I think that's like incredible because like once I started getting into MMA originally, like at the very start, that's when my relationship with food also just like went way down, and like I found that like, you know what I mean, I wasn't eating properly and stuff like that because I wanted to be, you know what I mean, a certain way, or you know what I mean, look a certain way. But once I started realizing like my body does pretty cool shit every day, I mean, you know, not everybody can, you know what I mean, say that they're, you know what I mean, talented in jiu-jitsu or like kickboxing and can defend themselves or just put their body through hell every day. Like, I mean, at this point, like, look at me. It doesn't matter what my body looks like. Like, I know what it can do, and it's a machine. So,
Yeah,
like, once I kind of started having that mindset as well, it kind of helped me a lot with kind of, you know what I mean, just with everything, with eating, with everything. Like,
yeah,
once you kind of take a step back and realize, like, you know what I mean, be grateful that for what your body can do.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean, tomorrow something could happen to me. I could get an injury, and I might not be able to train again.
Hmm.
So, doesn't matter how it looks. You should be grateful that you can walk, run, and do everything that you can do. Like, you
Yeah,
know, so that's kind of the mindset that I have about myself now.
yeah, you're dead right. And it is a thing that I think, and a lot of people, so there's two people. There's the people that come in to or so they're adults and they've trained a martial art as a teenager, and I find them to have a lot of food issues when they come to me, say in their mid-20s or their mid-30s, from just making weight as a teenager can really mess you up. So I really want to try and empower people to help teenagers to be in a weight class based sport without doing any damage to them. You know, like for
Yeah.
example, you potentially in the next couple of years you're going to have to move up a weight class because you're just going to grow.
Oh,
You're going to build muscle.
100%. Well, that's what I'm trying to do over here. I'm eating as much as I can. I'm trying to get a bit bigger because, especially even with the girls here, like they're adding weights, but like I'm walking around adding weight. They're like pro adding weight, so I'm still feeling like the weight difference. So I'm trying to get a bit bigger over here, even though it's a bit difficult with the heat.
Yeah,
But yeah,
with all the training.
yeah, sweating buckets.
But yeah, so to be aware, because obviously then the teenage years are the years when girls are most at risk of developing an eating disorder, and then when you add in a weight category based sport, it's a real danger zone. So if anybody can help teenagers to not have to don't be sending them off running in bloody sweatsuits if they're heavy, or just come up a category, or don't talk. One of my big pet peeves is just public weighing of kids. Like same for adults, but you know, a coach, like I remember going into a boxing club once, I was invited to something and they were like, okay, girls, line up, and there was scales on the ground, and I was like, oh, this is not good. And it was teenage girls. I was in my late 20s at the time, but there was girls from age 12 to age 30, let's just say.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and sometimes what we have to instead of, like, I won't just slate it, because I think what this coach was trying to do was just make sure everybody wasn't getting too far away from their weight class, so they weren't dealing with severe cuts, but just doing it with the best of intentions from entirely the wrong place and the wrong way, you know. And I've stories, people DM me stories about these things, and it just breaks my heart, because it opens the door to body shame, comparison, weight shame, and then some gyms have that vibe in them that it's like the weight cut, like, oh, how much have you got to lose, and you know, how far
like, oh, let's put as much weight as possible and stuff like that. Well, even here, like, I feel like for Muay Thai there's definitely like a strange weight cutting thing. Like I saw a couple of people that are fighting tomorrow, and like they've been running on the treadmill in sweatsuits since Tuesday, and like I'm kind of just there, like, and they're pros, so like obviously I'm not going to go up to them. I'm not like a professional, so I'm not going to say that's probably not a good idea. But I was just looking and like making a mental note in my head, like, you know what I mean? There's no point running 10 to 20K on the treadmill in a sweatsuit on Tuesday if we're fighting on Saturday. You're just going to be dying by the time. But that's their culture here, I guess. Like, do you know what I mean? That's the way they do it. So, but it's definitely not the way to do it.
100%. And you, again, like, I'm always in most aspects of life, let's get the most return for the least effort. So I'm just like, why are you making that so hard and so miserable? It doesn't have to be that way. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, you know what I mean? It's even then, like, running, I just don't get it. Like, once I just don't understand it at this point. But you know, I'm just looking at them, just like, I'd hate to be in your shoes right now. But I mean, that's that. I'm just glad that, you know what I mean? That's why I'm so glad that I came to you when I did, because I was at those years that probably you know what I mean, I was panicking. I didn't understand how weight worked and how weight fluctuated. And like, you know what I mean? I wanted to be on weight 24/7, you know what I mean, 7 days a week. Like, I would step on the scales and I'd be like even 0.4 over, and I'd start having like a panic, even though I wasn't, you know what I mean, the original Youth Worlds wasn't until maybe 2 months later, you know. And then I was like, okay, I think I need to like get kind of educated, because if all these fighters are cutting weight, then why am I panicking that, like, I don't know, I ate dinner like, a bit late last night and now I'm like half a kilo over the next day or something like that. So like, I just knew, once I realized I was having like bad thoughts in my head and stuff like that, I was like, I need to get educated if I want to be good and, you know what I mean, do things properly.
yeah, it's amazing. And for like, and that's, it just shows you how slippery the slope is. Like I remember one of the girls in my jiu-jitsu gym saying something like she signed up for her first competition. She's like, okay, I should cut some weight, because she just thought that that's what you do. You
That's
sign up for a competition, so
the norm, yeah.
and it hadn't occurred to her that she could just compete at what she actually weighs, which would be normal and healthy, you know.
Yeah.
So that, and you get into that slippery slope very easily, and then the damage it does on the other side is untold, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like you see even UFC fighters walking up onto the scales, and you know what I mean. I think maybe it was a couple of years ago. Like there was a girl that like she fainted on the scales and stuff like that, and that just scared me, because how do you expect to get into a cage and fight for your life the next day if you can not stand the day before?
Yeah.
And like I never want to be in a situation where, you know what I mean, there's another like, because I'm always looking at these things and like making like mental notes, and like, you know what I mean. I don't want to be in a situation, but there was a guy like, I don't know what promotion he was on, but he was like, he did a video of him doing a weight cut, and he was like throwing up and like flailing in and out of the sauna, and he was posting like, this is the work that like, this is what you need to do basically to be the best, and like almost like promoting kind of dangerous weight cuts. And I was like, I've seen videos of proper weight cuts, and like I've seen proper weight cuts been done at the gym, and like that's not healthy, and you shouldn't be telling people that throwing up and, you know what I mean, having to get your coaches to lift you from one spot to the other
Yeah,
is the work that makes a fighter. You know, I just thought
probably a good idea.
I think,
I can't remember his name, but I remember seeing that video, and he was in the portable sauna and he was
yeah,
vomiting out of it. But
that was the video.
he got so slated that he took it down within a couple of hours, because I had shared it and made some comments, and I think the fight dietitian shared it and made some comments, and a few people were like, stop glamorizing that shit. That weight cut should have been, you know? But I remember the
Not healthy.
time working with a pro, like high level MMA pro fighter. We were talking about her cut, and we were getting ready for the fight week prep, and she was just like, yeah, and I usually pass out. And I was like, sorry. And like it was normal, like, yeah, normally my blood pressure is low and I'll pass out in the bath. And I was like, and nobody thought, and this was also a girl that hadn't had a period for a couple of years, and her male nutritionist that was relevant, and then was okay for her passing out while she was cutting weight. And I was just like, this is not normal, and this is not, we can't. He was like, is it not? I was like, no. And I actually only just started working with that girl because I wound up at a fight camp with her, like a girls sparring day, and it was a weekend making note of what I was eating, and then she was eating fuck all, and I was just like, well, you know, but obviously I would never, unless someone invites me in, I'll never comment on their food, you know. And that's the thing I'm always parents as well, don't comment on your food, don't comment on your people's food. Don't say at home, if you've got a teenager in the house, like, oh, I'd like dessert but I better not, I'm trying to lose weight. Like, let's nobody comment on anybody's food until you're invited. And even my friends, when we're going out for dinner, they're like, oh, I'm going to order some chips. I'm like, mate, until you're paying me to give a shit what you eat, I don't care, so don't worry about it, you know. But then she asked me, and I was like, look, I'd really like to help you, but I don't want to step on any toes. Let me know if you're ready for my actual opinion. And she was like, absolutely. And then I started working with her, and there was no more passing out. Period. Got back and like had the best fights of her life, you know.
Yeah, actually healthy, feeling good, like going into the cage and stuff. Like that's what you want to be. Like you want to be fresh. You want to be fresh going in. You don't want to be tired going in. Like, you know,
in that
100%
won the fight. You know, the people are like, yes, I've made weight, and you're like, yeah, but now, mate, you've got to fight. You've
got to fight. The weight cut shouldn't be the biggest thing. Like you see people all the time saying it's the hardest part, and like, I mean, I haven't cut weight to a professional amount, if that makes sense, before. So I don't know, like what a real weight cut is like, where you're in the sauna and stuff like that. But like, I feel like the hardest thing should be the fight, because that's what you're preparing for, and like that's what, you know what I mean, that's what you're training for. You're not training to cut weight, or you just, I don't know, that's not a sport. Like, you know, cutting weight's not a sport. So the sport that you're actually doing is, you know what I mean, whatever, you know, mixed martial arts for me, and that's what you want to be performing your best in. You don't want to be the best at cutting weight, you want to be the best at fighting. So that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, you're great. I love your attitude. I always do. I was saying to Austin this morning, my husband, it's like I have my live with Amy, but Amy's so lovely. I can't wait to chat to her, actually, because we haven't chatted in a while. But tell me, what's your plans? What's next for you before I leave you off to go back and nap a bit more?
So I'm training here for the next 5 weeks, I think. So yeah, it's my first week. So I have 5 weeks left here. And then I'm looking to get matched in July, hopefully, for another fight, hopefully in Ireland again. And then if I can find another match in between, then I'll try get one more fight in, and then it's the Worlds in, I think it's in Uzbekistan, which I need to still figure out like where in the world that is. I have no idea. Somewhere it's somewhere in Asia, but I'm not sure like where exactly it is. That's where it's being held this year. So that's going to be like the, you know what I mean, the capstone of the year. And then, because it probably, like they're saying it's going to be October, but they haven't even announced dates yet. So they said that last year, and then it was in November. So my guess is going to be November. So that'll probably be my last fight of the year then. And then if someone offers me another fight before the end of the year, I'll take it. I'll take whatever I can. You know, win or lose. Like I just want to, as an amateur, just like fight as many people as possible. And just like, even if I get the shit kicked out of me, then like at least I'm, you know what I mean, learning for the next one. And then once I go pro, that's when it you know what I mean, really matters. And then once I go pro, I'm gonna be ready. You know, I'm just gonna wait till Richie says I'm ready, and then it's time to go.
Amazing. And as John says, you know, you win or you learn. But I think it's a big mistake. People they try, they see someone with a bit of promise and they fling them up the ladder before they're ready. We just get as much as you can before then you're into the and you're making a career out of it.
With my loss, like, you know what I mean, in what was it, April, like that was technically my first time ever being submitted, like even through jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. Like I'd never actually never had to, like, you know what I mean, I never had to be like, you know what I mean, I give up. And like that was really something that kind of made me realize, like, you know, it was tough. Like I still kept my head up high after, but it was like I kind of for the first time realized what it's like to be the other fighter of every night. You know what I mean? Like even every UFC card, like you think of like, you know what I mean? There's always a loser of every single fight. And like, I kind of realized that for the first time. And that kind of made me also realize, like, I don't know, it just kind of, it almost made me want to fight more, because then I realized how it feels to really lose. Like, cause when you lose on points or something like that, or decision, like that's happened a bunch of times before, but it doesn't feel the same as actually saying like, you know what I mean, you get to a point where you submit, you give up, like, and like, even if you get knocked out, I feel like, well, I haven't been knocked out, but I feel like that's not as bad. You technically didn't give up, but when you have to like do that, like, I feel like it's the most like, not humiliating, but like it really, you know what I mean? It's really like, you know what I mean? You feel like not a failure, but like you just feel shite, and you think of everything that could have gone differently and stuff like that. But that's when I realized there's no point thinking of that. There's just thinking where I went wrong, technically what I could have done differently, but not think about it in that way. Thinking about if I get in that situation again.
Exactly.
A situation where I won't be tapping. And
but also,
it's like
there's no shame in it, because that's also the beauty of the sport that you love, is you can be dominating a fight and just get caught in a submission. 100%.
And like,
that's why,
you know, jiu-jitsu is what I'm most confident in, and that's what I lost in, you know, like, you know what I mean? That was it. I got to the ground, and even then it made me realize you can't take a second off. And like, you know, she came out strong. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. I took her down, and I took you know what I mean? I took a sigh, like, you know what I mean? I made a mental, like, oh, I've got her down. And then next thing you know, my arm's in the arm bar, and I wasn't switched on for that literal split second. And that's what happens in a fight. So you need to make sure you're 100%, 100%, 110%, 110% of the time, you know? So you really need to like make sure you're like, that's even with my last fight then that I won. I made sure, like, as soon as I took her down, you know what I mean? I was trying to get straight past the guard, straight into half guard, and go from there, because once you know what I mean, I stopped last time and took a second, and that's when she was able to recover guard straight on the arm bar. So I made sure that when I got her down this time, it was going to be over.
Yeah. But the universe has a funny way of teaching us lessons, doesn't it? And like, I mean, look, you've already learned that, and it's all amazing. Well, you're like an absolute legend. Your attitude, you're obviously, you're going far based on your attitude alone, never mind adding in the skill set and your desire to learn. I'm really proud of you, really love working with you, love that you're still doing brilliantly, and I can't wait to watch where things go for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for all your help. I mean, you know what I mean? You've educated me so much, so I'm so grateful for everything that you've taught me. And I was actually proud of myself. I was like, you know what I mean? You know, when I did, like, was able to do the weight cut and stuff myself, I was like, you know what I mean? I'm learning every day, and like, that's one thing now that I've been able to educate myself a lot on, and there's still loads to learn, but I'm like proud of myself that I was able to, at least at the age that I am, like, you know what I mean, try and learn about nutrition and stuff like that and educate myself on it.
Yeah, you should be very proud of yourself because you're doing amazing. And then, so people expect me, like sometimes, like when people are doing a cut without me after working on me, it's like they're a bit sheepish about it. And I'm always thrilled. I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. You're doing it on your own. And the same with you. And that's why there'll be people that I haven't worked with in a year or for their last camp, and I'll still be sharing their ways. Like, look at this is amazing because like I love it. I just, a female fighter that I know is doing something in a healthy way, I'm all over it and I love it. And it doesn't have to be that she was in touch with me when she done it, you know?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, look, I'll let you get on with your day. I'm going to
Thank you so
shoot
much.
home, drive this car,
Thank you.
uses me a lot. And thanks for joining us and best of luck in the rest of your
Of course.
training.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
I'll chat to you soon.
See you, Amy.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.